Let's go to CTV's Brent Shearer. He joins us outside the BC Supreme Court. And Brent, just update us on the status of the protests there.
Well, protest is pretty much the same as it has been the past few days. This case that is going before the courts at 10 a.m. this morning, our time, was adjourned from last week. So the protesters essentially granted a week-long reprieve. There was an interim injunction granted last week that dealt solely with fire bylaw issues. And so for the past week, fire officials have been touring the camp, inspecting it, making sure that the protesters are following these court orders. The most recent inspection was just yesterday, and at the end of it, the fire chief expressing frustration that not all of the occupiers were in compliance. So that's what's happening with the camp today. Meantime, in court later today, later this morning rather, city lawyers will be seeking that injunction, the city trying to get rid of the tent city. Meantime, protesters bring their own arguments to the court as to why they should be allowed to stay.
So any reason the city would not get that injunction, Brent?
Well, the city's case is pretty clear. They're bringing to court hundreds of pages of documents showing these bylaw infractions. They'll be showing that the camp is not a safe place. There's been 4 medical emergencies there, including an overdose and a death. But on the other side, the protesters will be bringing to 2 arguments, basically. One is that the protests, the tents, are part of their right to free expression, and the tents and the structures are a part of the protest. And then the second argument they'll be making is that it's a health and safety issue. There are people living there. Among the people living there are a lot of homeless people, and there's been some shelter spaces cut here in the city of Vancouver. So the argument is that being at that camp is actually the safest place they can be. There's round-the-clock supervision from the fire department, and sleeping at Occupy Vancouver is better than sleeping in a back alley. So those are the 2 main arguments that we're expecting to see from the protesters' side in court today.
Okay, so I want to just ask you 2 quick questions before we let you go. Has the mood changed? Are protesters there encouraged or buoyed by, what many deem to be a win in Toronto, because protesters have been allowed to stay until the weekend? And when will all the situation, all of this, come to a head there?
Well, first off, these guys here, like all of the Occupy protests in the major cities, they have their own media tent, and they keep a close eye on everything that's happening all over North America. So they're certainly aware of what happened in New York yesterday, and is also what's happening in Toronto. So I think they're very confident going into this thing. They saw the adjournment last week as a victory, and they're saying that, we're complying as best we can with the fire officials, and so far they haven't really followed any of the city's requests to have them leave. So really, who knows if the court decides to grant this injunction, whether or not they'll follow that. I mean, there's certainly been a defiant mood among these protesters. And in answer to your second question, in terms of when this could all end, it's a 3-day court hearing. It's expected to take all 3 days because there's just such a huge volume of evidence. But whether or not the judge will actually make the decision on Friday, I just spoke with a lawyer with the BC Civil Liberties Association. He tells me he thinks it could probably be, they could reserve the judgment for the weekend, so we might not see any kind of decision made until early next week.
Okay, we'll keep watching it. Brent Shearer joining us with the latest from Occupy in Vancouver. Thanks.